Hey guys, San Race here at HeavyTek. Got another video for you today. We're going to be talking about the Prolimatech Genesis cooler. I'm not sure if Prolimatech has the same notoriety as makers like Cooler Master, Cryorig, or Noctua, but I ran across it a couple of months ago while I was perusing Newegg, looking for some new coolers that I wanted to check out. So this one really caught my eye because of the design that is quite different than the norm. It does have two heat sinks. One of the heat sinks is aligned in a 90-degree angle. Makes it a lot different than what you would see from the standard orientation of coolers. I really do like the design, especially with the black coating that it has. They do have a regular Genesis, and I guess this one is the special edition that has no black coating. It's just the default silver color that you would see off of most stock coolers that don't have any additions to it. Let's see, it has high clearance for better motherboard compatibility. It has a massive cooling range, cools not only the CPU, but also the MOSFET and RAM. Takes both 12 and 14 centimeter fans for a maximum installation of 3 fans. It's lightweight, it's 800 grams without the fans, and also supports Intel and AMD sockets. For specifications, it is 146 millimeters long, 216.5 millimeters wide, and 160 millimeters tall. Like I said, it's 800 grams without the fan. It does have six millimeter heat pipes. It can either support 120 millimeter or 140 millimeter fans. And on it right now are 2 proprietary fans from Prolimatech. And of course, it supports a myriad of Intel and AMD sockets, but sorry guys, it does not support AM4 sockets. It does support the FM2, AM3 Plus, AM2 sockets, but sorry, no AM4 support. Now, out of Prolimatech's own brochure, it says it is no thicker than a stack of 11 pennies. So there's no actual numerical data of how thick that is, but I guess if you want to take 11 pennies and stack them together and get that measurement, then you can. It does spin anywhere from 800 to 1000 RPM, and it does have a 17-bladed fan to help move air across the surface. Now, what do I like about this cooler? This cooler is very different in its design, like I said before, how it's not conforming to the normal orientation of how the heat sinks are placed on coolers, but I think that's kind of neat. If you do have high clearance RAM, you might want to double check to see if there's no interference, but of course if you're using low profile fan like Corsair LPX RAM, you're not going to have any issues. On the motherboard I am using G-Skill rip jaws, and there's still like a 1/4 inch of space between it and the heatsink. The one thing I really didn't like is that you can only fit 3 fans, and that's because it is slightly curved on the bottom, and you're not able to put a fan on the underside of the cooler, which is not to say that's like a huge drawback to it. I mean, you can still put 3 fans on this thing, which is great because on the first tower you can do a push-pull configuration, and then you can orientate the other fan on the other side whether you wanted to push or pull. So 3 fans is more than enough to be able to give added cooling. And then we're going to be showing you some benchmarking slides later to how it did without the fans and how it did with the fans. And I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised to see how good it actually did in those tests. Now, for overall design characteristics, this thing is definitely eye-catching to me. Now, this design characteristic might be a little harder to swallow for some, but you know, I kind of like it. It's different. It's not the same thing you see it all the time. So going across those lines, I think that if you were looking for something to really accent your case, or you were looking to do a really a quiet build, no fans, like something like this will do really well, especially at idle. Installation of the cooler is pretty straightforward, and if you've ever dealt with anything such as like using the Cryorig's installation system or Cooler Masters, it's along those same kind of lines. It's not incredibly difficult. The parts are really large and easy to handle, and the receptacle with the screws go into, the screw it down to the plates is really large. There's nothing you have to sit there and try to find. Yes, mother. Oh, I already pulled out the ribs and stuff, so okay. All right. Bye. All right, guys, as we're moving on to the benchmarks, we're still using the same test bench using stock base and boost clocks. Starting off with no fans on the heatsink, it was idling around 31 degrees Celsius and then shot up all the way to about 84 during the testing, and then, you know, tapered off at the end to about 37 degrees Celsius. Moving on to the heatsink with the fans, it actually was idling about a degree less, about 30, maybe like 2 degrees less, about 29 degrees Celsius, and then shot up all the way to about 67 degrees under load, and then tapered off real well about 32 or so degrees Celsius at the end of the test. As you can see, this heatsink using two 140 millimeter fans is more than adequate enough to go ahead and remove heat from the heatsink itself. So in the end, I was really happy with this cooler. I've been using it for the better part of 2 months, and even though that I've had an opportunity to switch it out for different coolers to test the other things like graphics cards and other projects I've been doing, I did leave it on because I do like the fact that it does cool the RAM. Not that I think it needs to cool the RAM, but I just like the way it looks on the motherboard. Now, you can find this cooler on the regular outlets such as Newegg and Amazon, but you probably want to pick this up on Amazon, as it's $55 on Amazon and like $90 on Newegg. That's pretty reasonable. The fan is roughly the same on either site. It's $19 a piece if you want to get the 140 millimeter fans, which I did. So if you're looking to purchase all 3 fans that this cooler can take, it's going to run you around $60 in addition to the $55 you're going to pay for this cooler, so that can push you around 120-ish dollars US if you wanted to get all 3 fans and the cooler itself. So if you wanted to start off and just get the cooler, I think the $55 is more than reasonable. And then if you want to add a couple of fans here and there, it's a lot easier to stomach the $20 a fan than if you were then trying to get them all at once, and then you're spending $100 so dollars all at once. But if that's what you want to do, you're more than welcome to it. I decided to split it up and get the cooler first and then add fans later. So the out-of-pocket expense for me wasn't that bad. And I don't think it's that bad altogether, even if you had to push it all at once. Do I think this cooler is in the high-end territory? Kind of, not really. I do think it can go toe-to-toe with some of the best coolers that Noctua and CryoRig and even Cooler Master provide. That saying that you are going to run into clearance issues if you have like tall RAM, or if there are other things like DIMM.2 slots, if you have an Asus board that it might come into contact with. So you're going to have to be careful of the motherboard that you have and then the placement of this. I don't think there's any other orientation you can put this cooler as. Maybe, but then you're going to be running the clearance such as like graphics cards. You're not going to be able to face in the other direction because you're going to be running the things like your VRMs and then the IO shield in the back. So you can only pretty much install this cooler one way, as in it's only going to really fit one way. So that's it, guys. That's my short little review on the Prolimatech Genesis Black. I guess it is a special edition of some sort. If you guys liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs down. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And now, as always, guys, be awesome, be heavy, and we'll see you on